All right. Hey, guys. It's been like a few weeks. I'm finally not as sick. Well, I'm not really sick anymore, I hope. Occasionally I still cough, but I'm feeling much better. Um, let's go over a few things before I summarize last time, because I spent a couple weeks and, revamped a little bit of the world to make it feel more, or similitude is maybe the right word, or to at least make it feel better for everyone, including myself. um, that means a couple things have changed, but the base stuff that you're currently working with is not really going to change too much. It's just more flavor things and some of that sort of stuff. So, um, the first thing that changed is I solidified all of the naming conventions and the cultures and things like that of the various human races and human cultures, I should say, and other races. So that should start to show up as we move forward with the game, as just it feels like you'll be able to tell better, hey, this is a Searly or this is a diary, or that sort of stuff. So that will become more evident, self-evident as we go. What that also means, though, is that since you guys are in a Searly kingdom, I am now using for this campaign the Searly calendar, and that is an 8-month calendar of 6 weeks of 8 days. So 40 each month is 48 days, and there's 8 months in the year. So that means some of the dates will look a little weird or change a little bit, but that's not really here nor there. It's still winter. It's still getting cold. You're heading towards the shortest day of the year, that sort of stuff. So none of that stuff changes. It's just the name of the date and that sort of stuff. On the plus side, that means I now have a much more clear understanding of how the Church of Seer works, which will probably come up here in a few minutes as we start the first day of Bazet. I had this thing pronounced before, and now I've forgotten how to pronounce it because it's French, and I suck at French. Well, that sucked. That was not what I wanted to do.
WC.
I did this.
WC.
Base. That's what it is. Cole should recognize what that is because it's French, but he probably doesn't.
I don't know that word.
Base.
Yeah, I don't know that word.
Lower or receding.
Yeah, no, that's a different word for
also
me.
Fall. It also can mean fall. Base. So Base, it's the first of Base, which previously would have been the first day of the Harvest Festival. We'll kind of go over that. It's now the first day of every month in the Searly candle calendar is a High Holy Day. And so this day will be a High Holy Day, and then the Harvest Festival starts the next day. So we're still on track on the same things that we were doing last time, just dates changed a little bit. That also means that a few things have changed in naming conventions. So instead of it being called Tanovar, it's now being called Tenno. The diary, though, still, that's what they originally called it, was Tanovar. So when the Searly took this over, they renamed it Tenno, but you'll still occasionally hear Tanovar. So even if I screw up and accidentally call it Tanovar, just potentially a diary who happened to say it. There's that. And so it's now Lake Tenno, it's the Tenno River, all that sort of stuff. The Nyrael marches are now the Taranthir marches. Taranthir is just what the original realm name was for the diary. Taranthir actually means thunder marches, so if I ever say, hey, you're in the thunder marches, it's just the same place. So the added benefit of modeling some of my cultures after real world things is that I can actually use real world languages to come up with names. so and then just translate it. Like I can think of it in English and just translate it if I need to. Those are the big things. As far as your characters and stuff are concerned, none of this is really any different. The city is still the city. There's still the various guilds that are pretty prominent. There's the Baron who rules over Lake Tanno and Tanno, and several lords. As I mentioned in one of the things on Discord, there is a lord over what was Raventhorpe. Raventhorpe is actually now called something else. but there's a lord there. You just it never come up the previous times you guys have been there. So if if you're ever to go there now, you might want to look around for a manor house or something like that if you're interested in seeing the lord. Those are the big things. I've now clarified some of the area around Tano a little bit more, so that may come up a little bit as time goes on. At least now I've got a better idea of what's going on where and why. And that's the big thing for you. Those are the big things. Not really much else. Like that does potentially play a little bit into your background, Artemis, which we could talk about offline. The way that might have changed some of your stuff. It's not a lot. You would have still just been a retained, a hireling of some sort in that sense. So that stuff's still pretty much the same. It's just whether what that lord was serially or because some of the diary are still minor noblemen's. The way that the serially work is they come in, they take over your country, and they demote they kill the highest level nobles, and then they demote the rest of them down to minor noblemen's, and then place their children in wardships with the serially nobles. Sort of the whole captive
Saxon.
Yep, the whole Saxon style captive. We're gonna indoctrinate you so that in the next generations you won't be, you won't want to kill us. So it's that similar kind of thing. So some of the nobles from the previous diary kingdom, or really it's a queendom, are still around, and their families still do exist. They're just no longer, they're no longer barons. They're typically just lords and things like that, or sheriffs, that sort of stuff. Yeah. That doesn't mean that the diaries still are happy with being under the yoke of the Searly. So, and that may play a part in some of this campaign as well at some point, just as an FYI. There are definitely, you've already seen it somewhat with the mining camp. Most of the people in the mining camp are dairy, and they probably don't like living there. Probably not their favorite place. So, all right, so let's go over what happened last time. I had that lovely set of notes, which now I can't seem to find. Here we go. So last time, you guys leveled up. That took a few minutes. Since some of the settings were broken. And then we got into the game where you guys had figured out Andal was diseased, and were worried that it needed to be dealt with right away. But Andal didn't seem to be feeling too sick. He felt like he could still do stuff, so you guys headed all the way into Tano. From there, you tried first to see if you could find a potion of cure disease for him, and that just was not something that Dios had available. Not knowing any other potion spots in the city, and as I said, Silva and Morgoth having lived here before knew there wasn't really any other ones that you could go to. You guys decided to start looking. Sorry, Artemis, you started to research making one. While you were doing that, the rest of the guys went to Castor's, gave him the news of that you had found what is now called Virtarak, and gave him some of the stuff. He paid you for that. He paid you your stipend for the 2 weeks, and then he basically said, hey, since it's winter and we're not going to be going up there, then I'm going to just pay you a stipend for the month. Now that the months are longer, I'm changing the stipend to 15 gold at the beginning of the month. And by the way, it's the beginning of the month, so you might want to go talk to Castor. But that also means that the penthouse that you guys found is also going to cost a little bit more. It's now going to cost 20 gold per month to make up for the longer month. Nothing really changes that much in the sense of things. You're getting more money, but you're also spending a little more money. So after seeing Castor, you guys headed to Morgoth, spoke with Artemis a bit, tried to figure out what you guys were going to do. Artemis continued to research things while everybody else started to kind of break up and to go their own way. That led to things like Silva and Morgoth going to the Crystal Cavern and exterminating the Goblin tribe, and then mining some crystal to sell in the city. Andal trying to find out more about the disease, see if anybody else could help out, and trying to get in contact with his contacts in the city, both to no avail, although Kalani was able to give him a poultice salve kind of thing that slowed the spread of the fungus a little bit. But after finding out she didn't have much of the liquid left, decided not to continue requesting that from her. About that time, you guys had also found a new place, the new penthouse flat to move into, which was a 5-room flat that 4 of you are staying in. Morgoth is still staying in his house with his sisters, which, by the way, Morgoth smells very heady aroma in there, as your sisters are trying to brew perfumes to pass their apprenticeship to get in with an apprentice alchemist. Might be something interesting, that tidbit there that Artemis might be intrigued by. As well as the other 4 had moved into that spot. So Andal left his dive bachelor pad to move into this as well. After the first attempt at the potion for Artemis failed, but the second one succeeded, stopped the growth of the disease. And at that point, Artemis, you started doing things like selling some stuff, selling your old equipment, and trying to make some potions and things of that nature. Sealgair, you took care of your thirst, or at least found a way to take care of it, because that's a once a week thing. And then reported in to find out that Lord Cedric wasn't there. Or, sorry, Father Cedric wasn't there. Still was not back from whatever Aaron had taken him away, a couple weeks back. So knowing that, you gave sort of a written report that was rather vague, and then continued, and then basically left, because there was no reason for you to stay there. That being said, you did go back and eventually figured out a plan for getting into the archives that you knew existed, so that you could do some research. Doing that research in fits and starts over the course of a couple weeks, you found out that there was an after-action report that mentioned something that sounded similar in vein to one of the aether pellets on the end of a staff. You couldn't say it's exactly that, and you're not sure how old the after-action report was. Probably from maybe a decade ago, which still seems very recent in comparison to where you're looking at for Vir Tarak. Vir Tarak is at least 2,000 years ago, so this seems somewhat recent. But maybe that just means somebody else knows about this stuff, or maybe somebody else found something. After that, you guys got a note from Martek saying, "Hey, guys, I love you. Why haven't you dropped by? You've been here for a couple weeks. Why haven't you come back?" Seeing Martek, you gave him a bolter. You gave him a few of the coins, and then you lied to his face about seeing Darvin.
Wow, that was a little judgy.
You lied to him about the ammo too. I mean,
No, I know.
A lot of lying going on that's particular.
The lie to his face, I guess, it is accurate. It just seems a little judgy.
At that point, you guys started to settle down a little bit for the next week to Silva looking into the Ethereum that you guys found, the Ethereum that was supposed to be partially blue and partially black. Artemis kind of looking into the discoloration that he extracted from Andal, and doing some potion work. At that time, also Sealgair was still doing some of her research, and then Morgoth was probably just dealing with his sisters. And that brings us basically to Basset the First, which is the day of lights receding. And now, Sealgair, this brings us to you, because you know that the high holy days, and this would be one of them, you're expected to be at church. Do you go to church or not?
If I'm expected to be there, I would go, yes.
All right, so you know that the ceremony for lights receding, the high holy day of lights receding, starts just before dawn, and you get to the church just before dawn and head in with the rest of the parishioners. You don't necessarily have any kind of role in the ceremony, but it's just because you're part of the church, you're expected to be there as part of the worship of this. The ceremony takes place starting at dawn and culminates at midday. And for the most part, the initial part of the ceremony is various chants and things like that, all providing the glory to Seer and beseeching him to look over his flock and all that sort of stuff. And it's a lot of kind of boring stuff for the first 3 to 4 hours. But this culminates in midday, where the sun, well, the two suns, the light from the two suns hits the dome in such a way that it makes it look like there's a halo around the top of the dome, and that light is further directed down into the center of the temple, or of the church, down to where the altar is, where there is a massive crystal on it. And as the prayers and things culminate, the light hits this crystal, charging it up to a blindingly bright white light, and then beams shoot out across the church and hit smaller versions of these crystals, which then light up with a slight glow. And that typically ends the ceremony. Basically, they're trying to harness a bit of seer's light to provide illumination in the darkness ahead as you reach the shortest day of the year. This happens at the church, lights up the things, and it sort of winds down at that point. As you're basically getting ready to leave, there's a tap on your shoulder, and one of the acolytes says, Sealgair?
Yes.
Good. I found the right person. Someone wishes to speak with you. If you would follow me, please.
May I ask who it is? I mean, I'm going, but while we're walking, may I ask who's asking for me?
She is from the capital. I do not. She's a cardinal. I do not know her full name yet. She only arrived yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And he takes you back through one of the side doors into the back side of the temple, or the church, into a small office, and directs you into the office. And you open the door, or you look through the door and walk in to see a woman who is standing behind the desk. At least you think she's standing behind the desk, because if she's standing, she's barely 5 feet tall.
Oh wow. Shorty, what's up?
She looks up as you come in, and she looks like this. So a woman with clearly a sturdy woman with platinum blonde hair, barely 5 feet tall. But there's something about her eyes and her presence that just seem to command respect and attention.
Okay.
So your little quip you are about to say, and then she kind of turns her eyes upon you, and you quickly climb up. She looks at you for a second as the door closes behind you, and there's a slight furrow on her forehead as she says, "Sealgair, please have a seat. I am Cardinal Vizien. I am here at the behest of the order to take over for Cedric. So, I know what you do.
What happened to him?
He is on his own. He is doing his own. Sorry, that is not the right word to put it. He has been called back to the capital to discuss some matters. It is neither here nor there for you to know.
He was my mentor for so long. It's natural that I have a concern for his whereabouts. Will I be seeing him again, or is this permanent?
It is possible. We will see. We will see down the road. For now, you are to report to me. And, if I may ask, could you please provide an order report of what you have been doing for the past month or two? Kat, you don't have to do a full oral report if you just want to say I give it. That's fine.
I'm trying to figure out, I try to be honest, but not necessarily tell things that I would think would get my party in trouble, kind of thing.
Okay. So you provide a report that skirts around the truth. Give me a performance check.
Oh boy. Crap.
Wow. As you kind of go through the report, Vizian, and you get the feeling that her last name is Vizian, furrows her brow quite a bit and nods every now and then, but seems
She ain't buying it.
she's not buying everything. You're not saying anything that's not the truth. That's why I didn't have you go deception
Right.
check. Because you're trying to dance around the truth.
Yeah.
At a certain point, she asks some pointed questions, which she asked a pointed question, which was like, so you say we're in Dwarven territory. Exactly where is that? So a very direct question about.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know, but I would say that, general direction I would know, and that I felt comfortable telling her.
It's to the west in the mountains.
Yeah.
A few days away.
Yeah.
She's like, I see. Was it difficult to get there?
It really was, and we had to pass through forbidden orc lands. So
The orcs.
that was very dangerous.
I see. Well, that is good to know. And did you find anything of interest that would interest to the church?
I would say yes, because I think I'm smart enough to understand that if I tried to say no, she'd know right then that, I'm lying. But yeah, we did.
Well, I believe.
Was this where we saw like the ironwood and buried in the tree and all the sprites and stuff like that?
No, that was Arkenwood.
Okay.
Or which is now called Arcade, but
I would tell him about that yellow zombie fever thing.
Yep. She's like, that's interesting. Let's bring this back to some of the things that you found. Is it possible to bring us a sample of some of these things without alerting your friends that you are spying upon them?
Did I get some zombie dust or something like that? Didn't I collect some
I think you
for
might
sampling?
have.
Oh, I'll hand her my sampling.
And she looks at it a little bit and says, yes, this is all interesting as well, but I'm more interested in the magic to determine if it's heretical or not. You definitely get the feeling she's asking if you would bring her some of the magic, the aether stuff.
Oh, okay. Do I have any on me that I could give her without betraying the party?
I don't know that you have any at all, actually. I mean, I think you might have the cobalt axe, but I don't know that you have any.
Is this the one where I have a cursed axe?
No.
Okay. Damn.
I don't see anything in your inventory, and I know that at one point you did have some stuff, but you gave it back to people.
She did get that potion stuff because I didn't want her to bring it back, but she brought back some of the mold.
Yeah, that's what she just gave her.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
sorry.
gave her the mold,
Yeah. But you currently don't have anything in your possession. And that's a true statement. Like, you can tell her, I don't have anything, but I can try, or whatever.
Yeah, I'll do that. And maybe keep an eye out for something that's might satisfy her, but not. Yeah, I'm playing the thin line here.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. She frowns for a moment and says,
And I think I might let the party know too. Just they want me to bring something back, so I just need to make you aware that I might be looking for something.
Yeah. So she frowns for a little bit and says, it seems a bit odd for one of your ilk to not at least have confiscated a little bit. No matter.
Well, I'm still new to the
this.
party, and they don't trust me that much yet. So when things are found, it's been the general consensus that they will decide.
She raises a hand to kind of stop you and says, "Understood. Regardless, let us move forward from here. I have something else for you to look at. Again, continue to try to get something that we can potentially take a look at. But in the meantime, as well, I have had some reports of some strange lights in one of the old diary fortifications to the north. We do not know what it is. In fact, that is part of the reason why I'm here, because these reports came somewhat recently while Cedric was gone. But I would like you to go take a look and scout it out. If you find heretics, either lay them low or capture them so that we might drive the heresy from them. Please try to do this as soon as possible. I would expect a report of some sort within a week.
Okay.
It's good to meet you, Sealgair. I'm hoping this will be the beginnings of a good relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's make sure it stays that way. And she kind of stares at you, kind of with a sort of a boring into your kind of soul kind of look. With a slightly arched brow, as you respond.
Yeah, that's a pretty mean stare she's giving me. I do not feel comfortable right now.
You're dismissed.
Thank you, ma'am.
And you leave. What do you do next?
I'm definitely going to try to find somebody to relay some of that information. Let them know I've been given the assignment to go investigate the lights.
You live with in the church?
Huh?
In the church or with the rest of your people?
Oh, with the rest of my people.
Okay, so remember, you live with 3 of the 5. So
yeah.
Or 3 of the 4. So you just head back. You can head back there. All right, so you head back. Artemis, Andal, Morgoth, what are you guys doing in the morning of, let's say, the 1st? Are you guys worshippers of Seer and are at the church? Or
yeah, I would be at the church.
Okay.
Just as part of the whole friar.
Okay. You would have been there. You would have saw the whole ceremony. The way the light kind of gets bounced in and to this crystal and then bursts out the rest of it. You also would have noticed that Sealgair got pulled into that an acolyte came and collected Sealgair and took her back behind when after the ceremony.
That may not be good, but okay.
Morgoth, Andal, anything you guys are doing?
I'm not going to this party thing and the worship thing. I'm just sitting at my house having spells.
Yes, your sisters are working with are trying to become apprenticed to. Find it real quick. I have a name for you. I just have to find it. Because names are all over the place in some of this stuff. Amelita Balzan. You've heard of her before. You've actually met her before because, as being wards of your sisters, you basically you were the one that tried to figure out where an alchemist or something like that could that would potentially take them on. And she was one of the ones that was recommended, and you met with her. I don't think I have a picture of her, unfortunately. I do not. So your sisters are very, very excited about this because this is something they're interested in, and it's a way for them to move up in status and that sort of stuff. So they've spent the last week or so trying to make different perfumes and salves and that sort of stuff. Like their thing here, at least from what you can tell, is making just various makeups and things that they try on themselves to do all this sort of stuff. Some of the stuff works out great, looks nice or smells nice. Some of it's absolutely horrible or explodes. So your house is just a cacophony of smells and of both good and bad. Some of them super, super fragrant. Some of them like almost making your nose so you can't smell anything. It's gotten that bad. Andy, are you available to actually speak?
Yes.
What are you trying to do this morning?
This morning, Because it's a big holiday, yes?
It is the high holy day of lights receding. So it's a seerly holiday, not necessarily a diary holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, some diary go to the church and celebrate.
Andal's probably not too interested. To be honest, I don't think Andal was the most religious of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Based off a lot of things, but especially now, that's not really where he does not really want to go to any yearly temple right now.
Mm-hmm.
So now that he's had the disease removed and he's feeling a bit better, I think he would probably go out into the areas surrounding the city. Didn't you say there was some sort of carnival coming over to where the encampment used to be? Yep. Is it still there?
Yep. Kalen's Traveling Mysteries is set to open its tents on the morrow, on the 2nd of Bessay.
Okay, so it's not open right now.
Not correct. Not quite yet.
Okay.
You can see them if you go, start going around and stuff like that, and you can see them. There are a couple people that are, watching and not letting people into the thing, but you can see them setting up tents and all that sort of stuff. Yes.
Okay. So Andal's gonna go into some part of the wood, and he wants to kind of work out with those the paired blades that he has.
Okay. So you take them out into the forest, some area, and you find a nice desolate spot, and you start doing, for lack of a better term, kata with them. So that's, you're starting to get the feel of the weapons. They feel pretty good, and I don't know, there's something about them that is just, as you're kind of doing the motions and things like that, there's something that's almost, what's the word I'm looking for? As you do a motion, because fighting is not necessarily your forte. I mean, you're more about sneaking around and spying and that sort of stuff. But you do know enough about having learned some forms and things like that you are basically doing those forms. But you can feel something slightly tugging your forms into a more correct form as you're doing it. You're not sure what it is. It's just, it's like something is just helping you put things in the right spots as you do your stuff.
Interesting.
All right. Church is over. It's midday. Artemis, I assume you went back even though you saw her Sealgair go into the. Or do you wait for her outside?
If I can wait around there somewhat.
Oh, I meant outside the church is what I meant.
Right, yeah. No, around the church, but if there's a crowd that I can blend into, yes. If I'm the only person out there, then
no, I mean just because the ceremony ended, it's considered still a high holy day. Many people still come in and
okay, yeah, then I'll stay out around and
provide do
bless
prayer
you, brother, bless you,
sort of
sister,
yeah,
type thing.
A typical priest thing would be, may the light of Seer be upon you, or may the light of Seer be with you.
Yes.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah, that type thing.
But you're trying to stay in the church or just outside the church?
Outside the church.
Okay. You also notice when you come outside that before you went in, even normally at night, there are things like crystal lamps or oil lamps and stuff like that that are on. They now seem to be on all the time. They aren't normally on during the day, but they are now.
Interesting. I might examine that a little bit.
Well, no, just as part of your. I mean, you've lived here. You've lived in the Marches for a while.
Nothing.
You know that as part of lights receding, lights in cities are left on all the time until lights renewal, which is approximately 90 days from now.
Got it.
So it's just a normal part of what's going on here. About 10 minutes later, Sealgair comes out.
Sister, may the light be with you.
I'm a little stressed right now. I got news.
All right.
I should go back.
Okay.
Back to the house.
And they know we're together, right? I mean, it's not like they saw us come in. Have we been hiding this?
It's up to you. You guys can go in together or not. It's up to you guys.
Okay, well, I'll meet you back there then, and I'll take a separate path back.
Okay.
All right.
I head back to the house.
You guys head back to the place. You get to there to find that Silva is still kind of tinkering at that Ethereum piece. She seems to have broken it apart a little bit and kind of separated some of the stuff. But she still has the main piece. Like, she separated some of the stone from the Ethereum. So all the Ethereum is still there. And she's slowly kind of removing some of it. You can see that through the door in the place where she's staying at as you guys come in. Andal is not around. As far as you know, Morgoth is at his house.
Was Silva the one who had the gypsy magic relatives in the camp?
Yes.
So I'll sit down with whoever's there now and tell everybody, what my new orders are, what they're doing, and just kind of add extra warning for Silva because I'm aware of her family and they're looking for heretics, and I've been instructed to bring back people, and they're looking for people to burn. This is a witch hunt that's accelerating, and I want you to be careful and please warn your people that this is happening because they're going to be some of the ones they're targeting. And with this new lady, my old mentor, I'm more familiar with his habits and ways to avoid him, but she makes me very uneasy. I don't know how to keep a step ahead of her right now. So please encourage your family to be cautious.
I would remind you, Kat and Sealgair, that you already know they're gone.
Okay.
That the camp had already left. Because remember, when you were doing some of your hunting, I mentioned that you had found a spot in a clearing, and then the clearing felt familiar, and then you realized that it was the place where the Havani were staying, and they were no longer there. So they've already cut bait and run. They already left from around Tano. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I was going to say
and that was a few weeks back.
All right. Well, then my warning will be, to Silva and the rest of the party, and just let them know that they want me to bring back an artifact. So when we find something, keep in mind, I'd like something to bring back to them and just describe to them some of the things that I don't want the church to know we find that would be considered heretic magic.
I mean, you already know one of them, the Staff of Thunder and Earth and Thunder and Lightning is definitely one.
Keep that damn thing hidden, please.
Yeah, definitely.
And to clarify, the mission is that there are lights being seen at a old fortification of the diary. And she wants you to check that out, and if there are heretics there, to either make them meet their justice or capture them and bring them in.
Yeah. So
that would be the Havani weren't at the tower, so.
Right.
I'm just being clear.
Do we have any? I think it would be a good strategy too if we have any enemies or something like that. That could be something we could use if we have to fight them. They could be some of the ones we bring back. But just keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have like coins potentially. I don't know if they'd be interested in that at all, but.
So I've got a week to do the dairy thing. You think that's a good mission for us?
Yeah, since I'm cross-eyed from trying to figure out this dwarvish and potions, I'm good whenever.
Which reminds me, give me an intelligence check and add your alchemist proficiency.
Okay.
Proficiency. Actually, add it doubled, because if you end up taking the thing that I'm going to do, then that I'm making, then it would normally be doubled. You'd have expertise.
Okay, so it will be. That'll be a 20. Not nat.
So at the end of last time, you were starting to try to research Andal's thing, as well as there was another thing you were looking at. I got to find it again.
I was looking for a something to keep us from the contracting the infection at
Oh
all.
yeah, no, a preventative.
Yes.
Okay, so
Vaccine.
Well, it's not a vaccine, but you.
Well, I know, but
so you have spent some time looking at that, and you believe that there is a way to at least make it a potion of resistance related to that, so that you could get basically resistance to it, which basically would just give you an advantage on the saving throw to if the poison
keep from taking it.
Yep.
Hey, that's still.
You think the first time it will probably take you about a week of brewing to make it happen, but you feel that that's just because you want to be safe about it. Beyond that, you probably think you could make them more quickly after that. But that's your current thinking on that.
Is there, what can we call this disease? I'm writing it down. So position, is it rot, or do you want to give us the actual name?
You can call it whatever you want, because I'm not going to give you the actual
Bane.
name. That's fine.
Dwarven Bane. Okay.
You can call it whatever you want, because as far as you know, this is the first time anyone's seen it in 2,000 years.
Okay.
So, but I have a name for it, but
let me name it after a superhero or rock band like everyone else does. Okay. Dwarven Bane is what I'm going to give it.
Most people would call it after the first patient. So Andal's fungus or something like that. But
Andal's Bane. There we go.
All right. So yes, that's what you're calling it. As far as Andal's thing, you haven't made much progress on that.
Okay.
You're not sure. You haven't found the right either set of chemicals or something to just try to really do anything to really suss anything out. Your current thing is you might need more sample from him.
Oh, he'll love that.
So that was that one. Silva, Brian's not here, so I would normally have had Silva do something as well, but that's okay. She basically says, "Hey, I'm right in the middle of this. You guys do whatever you want to do." So that I can put her off screen for the time being.
Okay.
Anyway, you were mentioning something about money and things like that. I just wanted to do that because I had forgotten about it from last time.
Right. As far as me joining the Alchemist Guild,
what do you guys want to do next? Sealgair has mentioned what she's going to mention about the stuff. Andal's busy off in his own world doing something right now. What do you guys want to do next?
So what about the library? Did I learn anything else other than what you told me the last session?
No, like I said, that is what you've learned over the course of like a week and a half of sneaking in every so often and a chance to get to it. If you'd like to try to do more and with a different, like, that's all you can find that's related to what you know of as the magical, like the pellets and stuff like that. If you wanted to look for something else, you could try to do that again. It might be a little more difficult now because there's clearly somebody here from the order who's paying more attention, but you can still do it if you want.
Like that, those pellets were lights, right?
No, the pellets were magic.
Okay.
They're basically distilled magic as far as you can tell.
I mean, it may be better if we go sooner rather than later so you can get in good with her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think we should leave as soon as we're able. About
that time, Andal comes in the door after a morning of working out with the weapons. He returns. So I can make sure he's with the rest of you guys.
So does everyone want to do anything else before are we ready to do this now, or do we want to stay in town a little more?
I'm ready to go.
How far out are the lights? Is this something we need some supplies to?
You don't know.
That we don't have?
She just said in one of the ruined towers to the north. So there might need to be a little bit of exploration or research to figure out exactly which one she means.
Would that be something that would be found in the library?
Maybe, but it's more likely that, talking to a cartographer or even the local populace might find that faster.
Okay.
I mean, locally, they're going to know more about the various ruins.
And there is a cartographer in town. We've talked to them before, so. And he has a daughter. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go.
Andal, you're there at this point now too. Morgoth, you just have to let me know when you want to leave that perfume-laden house.
Whenever I can.
Where you want to go?
I'll go with the squad. Go to the squad.
Okay. So Morgoth is now in the know as well. All right. What are the four of you going to do? Where do you want to go next?
So it sounds like we're going to go to the cartographer. I'm going to get some rations. Can we go ahead and just stock up? Assuming we've got gear. So
yeah, I think a week should be fine because she seemed to think that a week would be enough time for me to get there and back. So
a week of rations for each of us for the group.
Double it for Andal.
Let's be clear. A week travel to the north would probably take you. No. I'm just to be clear. A week travel to the north would probably take you halfway across the marches. This is not going to be that far north. Yeah, it's not going to be that far north.
Okay, so 4 days worth of rations.
And now a week's worth of rations. This way, if something happens, we still have some left over. Plus, the way Andal's eating, we probably want the extra.
He's fixed now.
Andal's not eating like that anymore.
He's fixed now. We fixed him. Do they have dry rations in this, or is it all considered fresh?
It's just rations.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily go bad if we buy them, and we're not getting that detailed.
Probably not.
So yeah, that'll be what I'm doing though, is just getting rations for if anybody wants to come, and I'll get Sheldar some rations as well.
Yeah, probably 2 days to travel there, 2 days to travel back, and then an extra 2 days in case something happens.
Okay.
So 8 days is what you're saying?
7.
So that's about 3.5 gold per person.
Okay. Shelgar, I assume you give me that?
Yeah. So 3.5 gold per person, that means 7. 3.5 for me and 3.5 for Duplachi.
Wow. Everything's changed names in this universe. I'm now Duflachi.
Mm-hmm.
It's your nickname.
Okay.
All right. All right, you guys get some rations. Is anybody else getting any?
I'm going to get some.
Okay. Let's assume that Andal is getting some as well. How you guys go about figuring out what she's talking about?
That's great.
I thought she was going to cartographer to see what towers and everything.
You can try to go there.
Yeah, let's go to cartographer and see if she can put us in the right direction. You know, what we're looking for. Ruined tower to the north.
All right. So you remember where Gareth Manson was along the main thoroughfare, probably about halfway towards the gates from the church, or from the cathedral. Really, it's more of a cathedral than it is a church. It doesn't take you too long to get there, maybe 10-15 minutes from your flat. And when you get there, you notice there is a sign on the door that says "Gone for the winter."
Oh crap!
Seems Gareth is like a goose and migrates.
All right. Who else might know the north?
I mean, we got our guide who we were using.
Cromdar's to the east.
To the east, okay.
Yeah, I mean he lives in the village to the east, or to the west. Sorry, doesn't mean he might not know stuff to the north.
How far to the east was it to get to
the west? Like 3 hours.
I'm sorry.
It's like about a little less than half a day.
Okay. Or what about where everyone else found a map to those ruins, the other ruins? Because they might have a map of towers around there. How did you get that map?
Well, that map they made.
Okay. Well, does anyone else know about towers to the north?
That map
you guys
they made
come across
from a a frieze on a wall, basically.
Are there any mines to the north? Is that where do we have the mining?
Most of the
company
mines are to the west.
Wow.
There's a few mines to the south. To the north is the Highlands. So here, let's bring this up.
What about
we'll bring this up.
Maybe like a blacksmith shop or the tavern? They might have travelers coming through that if they're that way.
So you guys are here.
Okay.
In Tano, to the north here, this is the Highlands.
Okay.
To the west is the Shining Peaks. And then you have the lake to the east and Archay and the rest of the Tano River that takes you to the Tano Slough. There are fortifications, ruined fortifications all over the lake. There's several in the Highlands. There's several along the steppes here on the other side. Give me an insight check, Sealgair.
Insight.
Okay. You think that if Cardinal Vizian had gotten reports from this, and she only got here yesterday, more than likely this thing is probably no further than maybe this ring. So it's probably like less than a day or about a day's worth of travel at the most.
I think we should travel, and I think we should travel north along the lake. I don't know if you see.
But you can always ask locals. I mean,
yeah.
At this point in time, you're pretty sure it's probably within a day's walk or something like that. That's what you think. But that means that there's probably plenty of people in the city who might be able to at least give you an idea of the lay of the land up that direction.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to take the road north along the lake, and I think I'm up in that area there. Mm-hmm. That would be my best guess for where we should start after we talk to the locals.
Right.
So did she got the reports? Do you have a copy of these reports?
No.
Okay.
She don't trust me that much.
Well,
anyway,
she's wanting you to go there, but okay.
Yeah. Whether I do or not, it's no skin.
I guess she's getting you to prove yourself too, probably. So maybe too many questions would be bad. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's also not something that if I'm untrustworthy that it's going to ruin any of her plans. So, she just sends somebody else.
I mean, you can always go ask her where she meant.
Oh, yeah. Let's go do that.
I mean, one would hope that an Inquisitor of the Order would be resourceful enough to figure that out herself, but...
Yeah, no, I'm just going to try to figure it out myself. I don't want to see her again. She made me very uncomfortable.
That was the point. She was supposed to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. The fewer dealings I have with her, the better.
The more you know. So you guys give me an investigation check. Whoever is trying to find a local that might be able to give them some information about the diary ruins around the place. And
I did that one.
Sealgair makes a beeline for the tavern.
Yep.
You guys are like, why is she going to the tavern? No. And idles up to the bar. Can't remember what the local tavern is. It's like the Red Dragon or something like that. Iron Dragon. And speaks with the bartender. And the bartender, it says, not necessarily my cup of tea, but that guy back there, he's one of the trappers to the north. You might want to see what he has to say.
Alrighty.
And
is anybody with me to go sit down and talk to him together?
I mean, I'll go and back you up. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should probably talk to him. I have like a -1 charisma, and I don't want to screw this up. So somebody who's better at that might want to have the actual conversation.
Let me see what my charisma is. I'm only +1. Actually, Andy is our charisma person, right? Andy O'Brien?
I don't know.
Andal?
Got a 0 charisma, so it's not me.
So it's looking like you are +1.
Andal's a +1 too. You guys are not charisma based, guys.
Okay.
None of you are charisma based.
But they're much better than -1.
I'm very
That's true.
charismatic.
Okay, so yeah, we'll go and
Like,
go up to the
He
table.
says,
Can I buy you
go
around?
speak with Darby. Darby will give you what you need.
Darby O'Gill and the little people.
You head over and he's like, you see a guy smoking a longer pipe. Kind of, you say, "Can I get you something to drink?" He pulls it out and puffs a little smoke in your direction, but it kind of dissipates before it gets to you. And he's like, I think I could probably do with a maybe a good whiskey of some sort.
Okay.
It all depends on what you're looking for.
Well, we've heard tale of some mysterious lights to the north and some towers, and we were interested in if you had heard anything or where the towers would be if we wanted to go and look into it, just for curiosity's sake.
Ruin powers.
You have any more information than that? There's several that fit that description.
I'll raise an eyebrow and look at Sealgair.
Did you specify ruined powers? The north within a day's ride. Within a day's ride.
They're within a day's ride. Ruined towers is what we had heard.
Are these from the last war, or are they from more farther ago than that?
I don't know. It wasn't. They just said a tower.
There are three
that's all the
There are
information.
3 ruins that I know of to the north. One is about maybe about 6 to 8 hours. Depends. On horse, probably about 3 hours from here. By foot, probably about 6 or 8 hours from here. On the top of a hill. It was the old Baron of Tanavar at the time was made their last stand there. If you go a bit further into the highlands, you'll come across some more ancient ruins from the Zandaki. I don't think, if you're speaking of towers, there are no towers there. All of those towers have long since fallen. They're mostly just outlines of the ruins at that point.
I would think they would, yeah.
But if you get a bit further along the streams that go through no, it's not Guildville anymore. Sorry, I got to give you the right name.
While he's doing this, I'm gonna flag down a barmaid and ask, get him his whiskey.
Okay.
Sealgair, you get to pay for it.
It is called. I'll find the name of it. Arvale. It's actually Golden Vale, but Arvale. If you go through Arvale and head up the stream where Arvale sits upon, eventually you will come upon a tower and a manor house. Well, a manor house more than a tower, where one of the lords here was still a lord, I think even as recent as 60, 70 years ago. A sickness afflicted their family and they all died out, and the manor house was just left to rot.
Sounds far from the light and cursed.
Let's try that third option first, because it seems like the first option is close enough that we could catch it on the way back if we don't find anything at that third option.
Have you heard anything?
You takes a sip of whiskey.
Yeah.
Or anything what?
Any strange going on? Any rumors? Any in that area?
Well, there is a story.
Okay. May I sit? May we sit?
Sure.
Okay.
2 months back, I heard some discussion of some strange, multicolored hued lights to the north, from a man maybe slightly younger than you. Let's be honest, much younger than you. I didn't give it much thought.
grimace a little bit on the age crack.
Well, much younger than you probably means he's like 15 or 14. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I know. I'm just.
I took him to task for his fibs and his lies, but a month later, I saw these same lights in a tenement here in the city. They matched his description perfectly.
In the city, you say?
Yes, in the city. I haven't seen them since, but it was odd that it happened so quickly after that. If you want, I can try to get you in touch with the boy. I might be able to give you a more accurate description.
The church would appreciate it, and so would your wallet, your purse. If you could.
Well, if you come back,
can I do an insight on that also?
Sure.
Insight on him.
Mm-hmm. He seems forthright in what he's saying to you. He responds with, "Come back later this evening, and I will see if I can find the boy."
Of course. And can we employ you for a map of where these spots are?
A map?
Just a crude for the tower.
The tower is maybe, if you follow the road north, you're going to be walking, I assume?
Yeah,
yes.
riding, walking.
If you walk north about, well, just as the road starts to bend to the east, there'll be probably overgrown. Well, it's an overgrown. It looks like an overgrown track, but as you move along it, you will notice that it actually is a cobblestone road that's just well out of disuse. I believe, again, one of these things made by the Zendaki when they were here 1,000 years ago. Oh, that was the other thing I meant to tell you guys. Zendaki Empire. You guys know all about it. The Zendaki Empire are basically the equivalent of the Romans, but they were hobgoblins, and they had a massive empire that fell about 1,500 years ago. That had gobbled up all of the human tribes here on the south portion of the Calvine. Here, let me bring this one up real quick, and I'll show you. Whoops, that's really kind of big. So it had basically covered all of Sirvine, had gone all the way up into sort of the central area right here, and all of the south here. Now, there's another thing that you know, because you would still have somewhat of the records from them. During the height of that empire, there was no Virdig channel here. Much of this area here was land, and this down here stretched all the way to the islands. There was a massive peninsula down here. It is.
Do you know
oh no, it's known that the seas rose over the course of 500 years, and that's
okay. So it's not a cataclysm.
Nope,
type
and that
thing.
is part of the reason why the Zendaki Empire fell, because they had to move all their people over the course of 500 years.
Right. Yeah.
And so they just lost control. So I mean, they initially lost control down here, where the Margalis basically broke free. Eventually, because of this going on down here, they started pulling back. And eventually lost this when the channel was created. And we're pretty much just on Sirvine for the last, I don't know, maybe 500 years of their existence, until the Searly slaves rose up against them and basically pummeled them into submission. Pretty much killed the empire at that point.
Okay.
And that is, for the most part, if you're a learned person like an alchemist or somebody of that nature, you would know probably most of that information.
Okay, so we can come back tonight?
Yes. If you come back this evening, I will see if I can find the boy Finn and have him come here.
Thank you.
May the light shine upon you, please.
Mm-hmm. And with you. You guys take off at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, where are you guys headed? What do you want to do next? What do you want to do in the meantime while you're waiting for?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, what do I know? Actually, I'm gonna talk to his sisters about. Do I know his sisters are?
You've been there. I mean, 2 weeks.
But I know they're going to the Alchemist
back,
Guild.
Well, a couple weeks back, you were there when you were doing your testing, and you saw them messing with some stuff.
Okay. I'd like to talk to them about getting in. Now may not be the good time, but what do you think? What do you think, Cole?
Well, I can certainly.
I mean,
get you with them.
Cole, Morgoth would know about the alchemists they've been trying to become an apprentice to.
Okay, so it's not the guild itself, but I could talk to him about getting in the guild.
All right. So the way the guilds work, and you'd know this from where you were approved before, and when you learned alchemy yourself, you would have learned it. Morgoth would have presented presented a claim to the guild that he had 2 people who would like to try to become apprentices. That application, claim, whatever you want to call it, would have been circulated amongst any master alchemists in the guild. And if one had said, "I'm interested," or even multiple had said they're interested, then what starts is sort of a month trial run for them, where they basically get their aptitude and that sort of stuff tested to determine if it's something that they can actually do.
Okay.
And that they'll be successful at. Because in the end, they're trying to train master alchemists, or at least journeyman alchemists, and they don't want to look bad if somebody comes out of their training and is terrible.
Okay. Well,
so there usually is a little bit of instruction when somebody picks that, and then they're sent to basically create something from that little bit of instruction. That's what the girls have been doing for the last couple of weeks, trying to make something that they feel will impress the alchemist enough to make them apprentices. But remember, this is very rudimentary.
Poor.
This is very rudimentary stuff. Like, it's not like they're working with magical reagents or anything like that. This is just making things like, like I said, perfumes,
right,
or that sort of stuff. Things that are simple enough that you don't require any real true magical ability or anything like that yet. It's more about, hey, if you've been given some minor instruction, like they basically get about a week of instruction, what can you do after that to impress me with what you can make? So it's basically, here's how certain chemicals might work together, or here's how, if I put these things together, here's how it might work. Now, what Morgoth knows, and you don't, is the girls have a slight leg up, because that their mother was an herbalist, and they had actually used to help her with brewing things like willowbark tea and all that sort of stuff. So they actually already sort of have an idea of how to do some of these things.
Okay.
So they're actually experimenting further than they probably should be, and that's where you should be. That's where you should say, "I'm sorry, Morgoth."
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
so that once you become an apprentice, you basically are an apprentice for X number of years, usually 4 to 6, until you can present your journeyman's project, for lack of a better term. And once you present that to the guild, not just your master, but to the guild, so usually 2 or 3 master alchemists look at that and say, yes, this is worthy of being a journeyman. You then become a journeyman, and at that point, you're free to go wherever you want and ply your trade. But you're still part. At that point, you're not really still part of the guild. You are, in the sense that you can ply your trade because you're trying to become a master. And if you went up through the guild this way, you're usually a de facto member of the guild. You still have to pay guild fees, but you don't have to pay the guild application fee.
Okay. Let's instead of doing that, let's wait until you and I have talked about background, because maybe I'm already a journeyman, I would think, kind of thing. But
no. So yes, you're part of an alchemist guild somewhere, just not here.
I've just got to pay the fees and introduce here. But speaking of,
and you know that trying to become part of a new guild basically is an application of some sort. But there may be other application or other things that you have to pass. So that's something you're going to have to potentially find out about from this particular guild. And there is a way to find that out by talking to potentially
their master,
this
or
person
someone
that they're trying to work with, or finding the guild hall. There's got to be a guild hall somewhere.
Okay. Well, and actually, so let's change gears on that. Let's get our money. Let's go to Castor and see what's going on, and check in with him. And shouldn't we get our funds soon? And I would like to get some. I guess spend 50 gold for the paper and magical ink to get a new spell, just for whenever I do that. So I'll have that ready. So I guess I'm going to go shopping, and let's go talk to Castor.
Okay.
He might know something about the lights too. I mean,
which one are you doing first?
Let's go talk to Castor first.
Okay. All right. So you guys head over to Fizzbolt's Bolts. You're knock on the door. You knock on the door, and the door just goes. But you can see inside. Castor's in there with Wizard. They're doing something. Just he must have forgot to close the door completely.
Okay. Oh, it doesn't open on its own. It's just
no. He just didn't fully close it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, go on in then.
He goes in and he's still busy looking at something. He's got his massive eye goggle on. He's looking at the little kind of. It's like a jeweler's prism, but it's much bigger. In proportion to his head, anyway. He's looking at something. You see, he's got these like two very small screwdrivers that he's kind of gingerly pushing into something and pulling something apart very slowly. It's very clear he hasn't noticed you guys yet.
Okay,
even though Wizard is kind of going making lots of noise. I mean, but he's still doing whatever he's doing.
I will clear my throat and quietly, and so not to scare him. Hopefully, when he stops pulling apart, it seems like he has a break.
He's pushing something up, and he basically pulls him up, and that's when he seems to finally notice Wizard's going crazy. He's like, "Stop it! Stop it!"
Master Fizzbolt.
He kind of looks up. It's like, "Oh, it's you guys. Hello." As I slowly get my voice back. Give me one moment, please. This is very delicate work.
Certainly.
And he pushes some things, and he puts a pin in, and he pushes a couple things back, and he puts another pin in. And then he finally says, "Okay." And then he takes like a little glass thing and puts it over top of it. And then he backs up a little bit and says, always. He looks at it again and he says, last one exploded. This one did not. Ha ha! This is progress.
Step back a little further. Yes, it is.
What can I do for you? Oh, I bet you're here for the monthly stipend. I saw they lost Fizzbolt's voice, so I'll get it back.
There it is. It's kind of there.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're headed to the north for a day or two, and didn't know we had heard rumors of lights, and didn't know if there was anything we could do for you while we were there around the so-and-so ruins. Let me.
I haven't heard about anything. No, there was no name to there was just diary ruins.
Okay. Well, the house, the manor house on Erval Cross as well.
Oh.
I'll say or.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know any about these places. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, then
I rarely leave the city. When I leave the city, I either take a boat across or I take a coach. Because it's usually because I'm going to probably, I don't know, the capital of the marches or something like that. Here's what it is.
So yes, the monthly stipend then.
He moves over and he's like, all right, yep, sure, here we go. And he looks in, he opens up the iron box again. He pulls out, counts out money for the 5 of you. And he puts it into a small bag and he brings it over. It's like 65 gold for the month. Do you have anything? I mean, if you have any, do you have any more of those the white pellets? Oh, the really powerful ones?
I don't think I have any white ones.
Somebody does. I just don't know who.
Well, those ice. What's the white?
No, white. He's talking about the universal ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely don't have any of
Pretty
those.
sure like Andal has all
I
those.
think Andal has all those, so I'm not gonna speak for him.
Yeah, he's not speaking for himself either. Well, no matter then. I'll continue to work with what I got. Pretty sure.
Has it been? Have you had good progress?
Well, the one universal one blew up. That's
Yeah,
the one
I was looking for explosions in the lab, and I remember.
Oh, there's clear evidence, but there's evidence upon evidence of explosions in this place. So
It's this thing.
That one kind of exploded. Luckily, the my transporter took me out of the blast zone pretty quickly.
That was smart.
Yeah, actually, now that you think about it, you see that at the desk he was just at, there's like almost a perfectly half round circle in the desk.
Oh wow!
And
they're quite
Morgoth
a wallop.
And Andal would know exactly what that means. He's got he's got an emergency transport system that basically transports himself and everything within about a foot around him, including things like wood and stuff like that. It's not perfect.
No.
Yeah, so that one blew up, but I'm pretty sure these things are these have to be the key to it all. If I could just figure out how to make one. So I've been opening them up and kind of looking inside and seeing if there's any way to. Well, I'm pretty sure the outside is just some substrate to hold the rest of it together, and that the liquid, the gel stuff inside is a thing. But how to make that gel, I don't know. There's got to be some kind of book or something that we can find somewhere that will do it. That's probably what we should look for when we go back.
Yes, in the spring. Well, what do you think it would do to something that wasn't contained, like say skin or some type of?
He kind of cocks his head at you, he's like, I never thought about applying it to myself.
Well, no, not yourself. I'm perhaps a cadaver or.
I don't know what would do it. It depends on what the magic was, I guess. I mean, if it was possibly acid, it might eat through it. If it was lightning, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know what it would do.
Too bad we don't have any more of those universals. That would be interesting because I know. I mean, some of those because we did give him a grenade, right? Pretty sure we gave him one of the grenades.
He's got a bomb.
So, I mean, we know what those kind of do.
I've been a bit all over the place. Am I with them at the Russian Club?
Yes, you are. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean,
you're with us the rest of the time. So
I had you come back.
Yeah, well then yes. When he had asked about it, I would have given him a few more because I don't know how many I have off the top of my head, but
okay. Well, then he's very excited and he's quite excited and your question kind of really doesn't register with him too much. He's just like, I don't know. Maybe it would magic something. I don't know. Well, it's now you make me want to apply this to like a weapon or something on like in the surface of it and see what happens. So he goes over and gets a dagger and he takes a dagger.
Okay,
and pulls
step
off,
even further back.
He pulls off the top of the glass and he kind of takes a dagger and he kind of looks at it. And he dips the tip of the dagger into the thing, and he goes, and you can hear a sort of a, and then there's a flash, and he's missing, and the dagger's missing, and a portion of the table's missing.
Where did he go? Look around the room to see where he's at.
He's not anywhere in the room.
Well, that was. He knows enough to make it further outside of the room. That's smart. Castor?
Don't hear anything. Actually, give me a perception check. Yeah, you don't hear anything.
Anyone see where he
I
went?
will remind Morgoth and
Doesn't it send him upstairs?
Andal that they found him last time upstairs in his bedroom.
Yeah, it sends him upstairs to the upper floor.
So did it make an explosion?
You don't see an explosion. You don't know why the thing went off. You kind of stand there perplexed for a little bit, and about a couple minutes later, the door kind of, and he walks in and he says, "Still a few bugs in the translocator. Oh well." And he goes.
So did it do anything?
I don't know. It transported me before I could really get anything. He looks at the top of the dagger, and there's sort of a portion of it burned off. He's like, "Huh. Well, that was definitely an acid one. I'm pretty sure." All right. Oh well. I'll try it in a more controlled way next time, and maybe hopefully the translocator won't go off. By the way, that's patent pending.
Could be useful for lots of applications.
I know. I just can't get anybody to want to help me produce more of them.
So what if we tested it in the field for you?
I don't know where it would transport you to.
Look at her like she's crazy in that instance.
Basically, all it is it's a pre-programmed Misty Step, basically, in general.
So what would you need for somebody to help you make it?
Well, capital, of course. Money.
How much money?
I need time in the furnaces to be able to get the more of them into production.
Well,
how much money? I mean, I think there's a market here. So maybe 5,000 gold to get it all set up and then start selling some of the stuff.
Oh, huh. I'd like to invest when we get that kind of money.
Shake that 65 gold we have. Look at her. We're quite a good ways away.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit is willing, but the wallet is weak.
Well, that's what everybody says.
No, really. If I had 5,000 gold, I'd give it to you.
Well, that means
and
a
then
lot
he
to
could
me.
give it to us.
But in the meantime, do you have any prototypes you'd like us to test out in the field?
No, none of this. Not really of anything. Been a bit of a dry spell, actually.
Okay.
This whole dwarf stuff is the best thing I got going on right now.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, about the light thing, I don't know about any of the lights things. Sorry. Like I said, I don't get out of the city very much. And if I do, it's more to go to other cities.
You don't know of any other anyone else who'd be experimenting with lights, because you also heard about some in the town that were similar.
Nah.
Mordic.
Don't know of anything.
Are there
like
any
that.
other? Okay.
Oh, you're talking about like artificers.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, you mean an artificer of some sort? Migrin. He's one of the guys that I know of. He makes some stuff. There's some Searly guy. His name is I gotta find French.
Oh, that's right. Migrin's the dwarven artificer for the leather.
The dwarf, yep.
Yep.
Who tends to work in more cloth-based things. There's a lady by the name of Madeline. Madeline Blanchard, I believe is her name. She works some stuff.
Would she be downtown? No matter. I mean, I'm sure. Once we find out
that she's. I mean, most of us artificers are here in the furnaces district, except for Martek because, well, he's rich. But the rest of us are down here in the furnaces district. There's Migrin down here. There's me on the outskirts of it. There's Madeline. She's over. She's actually over near Martek, but still in the furnaces area. There's a couple other guys. I don't really fraternize with them too much. I haven't really gone to a guild meeting in a while either. But
do they get upset about that?
No, not really. As long as I keep paying my dues.
That's convenient. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time.
Okay.
But thank you for the...
He's already starting to take one of the 2 new universals that Andal gave him and setting it down. And you can see him taking a very small knife and he's starting to just score the outside of it very carefully as you guys are leaving.
Okay, yeah, walk out even faster.
And you hear the door close behind you, and you just barely see Wizard there, who's kind of closing it.
That's all I've got for right now. Like I said, I'm not going to do the guild. I will look to find out where the guild hall is if I don't know already.
Okay. Yeah, we'll pick this up again next time.